Hello and welcome to the Instant Impact Event Show. I am Cheryl Williams.
I'm CJ Williams. Thank you for being here.
Welcome, guys. We are so happy to have you here today. And
yes, we are.
I don't know about you, but this time of year just makes me smile, brings out the joy, the sunshine, if you will. It's the sun, it's
laying
the warmth.
out.
It's just, you know.
Changing shades.
That too. A few shades darker.
Yes.
Here and there.
Ditto.
You know? So we're certain you guys are having an awesome day and week, and we appreciate you spending a few minutes with us today to
thank you so much.
To cover, these important topics that we bring to you guys. We love hearing.
Always important.
They are. We love hearing your feedback. We love hearing your comments, and you've got lots of questions constantly rolling in.
Yes, so we appreciate that very much.
If you don't know the format, we have our topic show that we do, our episode once a week, and then we put out a Q&A episode as well. So we have
answering those questions.
Two shows that we put out because we get a lot of questions from you guys, and so we're like, you know what? Instead of making these episodes extremely long, we can put it all together. Why don't we just make two different episodes? One that's more topic based, one that's more question based.
Keep it nice, short, and sweet.
That's what we aim to bring you each and every week. And today is no different. So today's topic is all about event location and the importance of event location and why it matters so much to your event.
It does.
Because
you can be in some really scary areas just alone right there.
Yeah. So when we're talking about location, there's a couple things that come to mind. One, location as in city. That's one. One, location as in where are you going to be holding your venue, right?
Are you going to be close to an airport where the planes are going over? You're going to be downtown where the traffic's going to be at certain times.
Are you going to pick a middle of the road venue? Are you going to pick a higher end venue? Those are all options, and it's on either or. You can choose which one
But that's up to you.
Right. And so we want to kind
clientele.
of lay out some pros and some cons, some things to think about when you're looking at each of these venues. And then you're going to have to choose for your demographic, for your event type that you're having, for your clientele and your attendees, what is the best venue option for you. So let's first start with the location, as in the city or the town in which you're going to be having the event.
Because some places you might not want to go, especially during these times right now.
Yeah, there's a lot of cities that used to be on the event list of let's some
go
good
there.
cities.
It's nice and clean.
That's not the case anymore.
No crime.
So you need to be aware of what's going on, not only in your own backyard, but if you're thinking about having events
somewhere
in other
else.
places, you need to know the lay of the land there. You need to know what the perceived perception is of that area now, right?
Right. Are your attendees going to even want to go there?
So there's a few, and we'll go ahead and drop some city names now because, why not? Places, these used to be high on the list that are now at the very bottom of the list, and I would avoid completely, right?
Yep.
New York.
San
City.
Fran.
Chicago. Those are the three big ones that used to be like you would go to New York, Chicago, and San Francisco for events. Not anymore, right? That's not a place that you want to have events at anymore.
Right.
We've even worked with people who've had events scheduled in those cities, and they were not getting the registrations for their event because the people, their attendees said, no, I'm not going, right?
So, and the event was already scheduled, so then it had to change right away.
And there's also something else you have to be cognizant of right now is even if you pick a city that seems like it's a little more conducive right now for events, there's not as much crime going on, there's not as much, just things going on that are, political or not, or whatever the case may be for that city, you have to think about when you're looking at having your event, we always talk about what's going on in that area during that time. You've got to look a little deeper nowadays too, right?
Yes.
Are there going to be marches? Are there going to be rallies? Are there going to be...
their buildings still standing.
Right. All these kinds of things that are going on, right? So you have to think about that, especially if you're thinking about holding your event in like a downtown location. That's where a lot of
Right.
those activities usually take place.
Yep.
So maybe start planning out a little bit further than that usual downtown location as to where you would normally have an event.
Just go somewhere out of downtown.
Yeah.
On the outskirts.
And I would still avoid those 3 cities though, regardless.
No
it's
matter
not
what.
it's not just a downtown problem anymore. It's a
It's-
citywide challenge
Yes.
that's going on in those. And there's plenty of places to go and have your event. There's no need to take it to one of those places where you're
Right.
going to deter people from going just by naming that city.
Correct. Because you could have it in a nice area, but just the fact that they heard where it's going to be, they're not going to sign up.
And, you know, I don't always take everything at face value as to what other people say. I haven't recently been to those cities, so I cannot say with my own eyes
Yes.
what is or what isn't. However,
That's research.
What you're going on is the perceived perception, okay?
Yes. Of what you see every day.
People don't, or what you're being told is going
Yes.
on there every day, right?
Right.
People
Because
don't.
half of it is lies, and the other half is true.
So you don't know, but what people are being fed and what people are being told brings up the narrative that they're going with, right? So whether it is or it isn't, most people nowadays, if you talked about those 3 cities and you brought them up in conversation,
Yes.
there's more negative connotations towards those right now
Yes.
than there are positive. So
Correct.
take those off the list right from the get-go, okay?
Yes.
There are plenty of cities
places
and
to go.
towns and places to hold events.
Where they would love to have you.
Yes.
Yes.
So, knowing that, number 2 as to why I would not be holding events in certain places are places that are becoming more unionized at venues. You need to look into where those areas are. I'm not going to give you a list because it's becoming more and more
Everywhere.
And so,
And it's gonna be harder to find.
If you watch this video a year from now or listen to this, it might be different. So you need to do your research and look at the venues in those areas. Are they becoming more unionized? And what that
Right.
means is you're not able to go in and do what you want to do.
Yeah, you can't bring in your own stuff. You can't, even your own boxes, you're not allowed to touch. Bringing in AV, you're not allowed to do that because they'll hold your stuff hostage, basically. And you have to go their way or the highway. And it's not a good look because it already just happened to us on something else. And they were pretty much held hostage and had to pay like all this extra money for people that weren't even there.
Yeah.
They're
So-
called ghosts, and they were being paid, and it was over a 20 grand tab
It's really like
extra.
extortion, okay?
Yes.
If you want to put the words what it is, it's very similar to that. Either do what we want or else,
right.
right? You do this or we're going to do that. So again, it's options and choices. If you have the choice, don't choose that, right?
Yeah.
And how do you know? You ask. That's
Right.
how you know.
And if that's not a challenge for you, just know you're gonna
pay more.
You're gonna pay premium. You know, you're gonna pay way more.
And it's not even a
than
premium.
you were.
It's that
you're gonna pay
what I don't like about it, there's no challenge with the premium. I don't mind paying people to do a job.
what they're worth.
The
Yes.
challenge in that is that you are not able to do your job in the way that you want to do yours because you always have someone standing over you,
Yes.
watching everything you're doing, telling you can't lift this, you can't touch that, you can't do this,
Right.
you can't go over here and do that. Like, who wants to work in that type of environment?
Right.
Choose a better venue, okay? And
Yes.
most places, it could be a few venues here and there, or it could be the whole area. So look into
Know that
that
ahead of time.
when you're choosing your venue. It didn't used to be, there used to be a couple cities that you would know, hey, you know, those are very much so union, kind of say, it's
Yeah.
popping up more and more, and it's becoming a little more prevalent. So
Right.
know that. You've got to do your research on your city location before you
Right.
do your research on your venue location, okay? So
There you
know
go.
what's going on in each of those cities
Yes.
by looking into that a
And
little
ask,
bit deeper.
because that's going to be a question you're going to have to find out on your own because they're not going to offer up to tell you that either because they attempt to hide that fact.
But if you ask and
gonna hide
they
it.
tell you it's not, that needs to be in the contract. And
Right.
see, here's how you handle all of these challenges and things that are coming up. If they're in your contract, that is what everything is based on. What someone verbally tells you isn't going to work. If they say, no, it's not a union house, great. Put that in the contract. And under an
Yes.
addendum, this is not a union house. Awesome, thank you. If
Yes.
they're not willing to do that,
then there's a challenge.
There's a challenge there in that, okay?
Yep.
Because what happens is people tell you one thing, and then you show up and you're walking into a whole hornet's nest of nonsense that you don't need to deal with.
You have all this equipment coming, and it's not allowed in.
Or you have stuff that you have shipped there to be able to pick up, and you're not able to pick it up. They have to bring it towards you. You have to pay their fees and their surcharges and their stuff to be able with the their good graces to be able to bring you all of your things for your event. That's ridiculous. Okay?
Yep.
So if this is happening and you don't have it in your contract, you don't have as much pull. But if it's happening and you have it in your contract and say, look, I was told I can bring in my own stuff. I was told that we can use outside venue, AV. I was told I can pick up my own packages. I was told this is not a union house. I was told I can, run electric from here and there and don't have someone come in and plug in the cord for me. I mean, even to charge your laptops and stuff. So these are all things to think of when you're choosing a location. Dive into it a little bit deeper. So those are some things to think about as far as your cities. Also, being close to the airport, yes, but not too close to the airport where you're just constantly, the rafters are shaking because the planes, you're right in the
you don't
pathway.
be too close.
What else? Other things are, you need to look, are there major construction projects going on? Are there other things where streets are going to be closed down?
Are there any restaurants? Is there a place to eat anywhere?
That's big.
In the hotel, in the venue space, or outside of it?
How is traffic? Or is there parking in and around your venue? Is there parking that's devoted? Because see, a lot of times downtown, you have to find places to park, right? But do they have a dedicated spot for that particular venue where anyone who's coming to that venue can park there?
And it's already going to be $20 and above just for you to come in or more. And the prices keep going higher and higher.
You can get that in your contract too.
And get it in your contract that you'll get a card, you'll get
validated, a ticket.
Validated or something, so you don't have to, especially when you want to go somewhere for lunch, because you're going to have to pay again.
So again, that's something, if they do have a parking garage, but you have to pay to park, you need to get written into your contract that everyone who comes to your event can get their ticket validated, and the parking for them, they don't have to pay for that. Or it's comped
Get as close as you can.
Right.
To, maybe it's half the price.
Or it's comped completely.
Work on the comp until the very end, and then, whatever happens after that.
And this is where the negotiation comes into play, okay? You could have two equal venues. They've got the space. They're both about the same caliber of venue. You like them both. One is going to give you these concessions that you're looking for, and the other is not, right?
Yep.
So if one gives you validation on parking and one doesn't, that's a perk and a bonus, right?
Yep.
If one is giving you comped speaker rooms, that's a bonus, right? If another, there's all these perks and bonuses.
Or you're going to get your venue space for free because you got food and beverage.
So can you get it comped, right? And because you're going to pay the money instead of paying it for the actual space, it's going towards food and beverage. These are all negotiations. These are all that's why we say you don't know what you don't know, right? But you never just take a contract and say, oh yeah, let me sign that and get going. No, it's from, they have the space available. This is where the negotiation starts, right?
Yes.
So you're reaching out first to see, do you have availability during these dates for this,
so your time's
what we're
not
looking
being wasted.
for, right? If that's the case, then we can continue the conversation.
If not, you
go to the next.
Keep moving on.
Right? So these are all things to think about. These are all things that can make or break your event, right? Because if you have an event and people are going to drive there, maybe they're not flying in, maybe it's a more local event to them, they need to drive, and there's no parking, well that's already, you're already starting the event off on the wrong foot.
You are.
Right? People
Definitely
are showing up
if they
late.
have to circle around and park on the street.
Yep.
If they need to park in a separate garage, have that information and everything you put out, all your emails, during the calls, when you're making sure they're coming to the event, let them know that, in the southwest corner, right there's a parking garage, and we might have that discounted or not, or free.
And the other thing to think of is, along the same lines, is, if they do have the space available, but there's no restaurants around there, and there's no food that can come in, and people have to travel long distances to get that.
See if you can get it catered.
That's another strike, right? On that type of a venue
Right,
versus
'cause
one.
people need to eat.
There's ample, food at the venue. There's ample restaurants around it. Awesome. Okay. So these are all things that you have got to think about when you're choosing a location. Also, the other one is, are you choosing the Embassy Suites or are you choosing the Ritz-Carlton or something in between? Right?
Yes.
That is a level, we always talk about an event as an experience,
Yep.
okay? The experience that you're presenting at the Ritz-Carlton is much different than the
It is.
experience you're presenting at the Embassy Suites, okay?
Right.
Now, not saying that
Nothing's
one,
wrong with them.
One
either,
is,
Embassy
you know,
Suites. You'll get a free breakfast.
one is great and one's, you have to know
Right.
where you're at with your event. You have to know what demographic you're dealing
Right.
with
And if
with
that's
your
okay.
attendees.
And that's okay if you're going to have a smaller event, you're just getting started, that's a place to start because all their ballrooms are small to begin with in the first place.
Right, they're not
They're
very big.
not very big.
No.
So,
But we're talking on a sliding scale here.
Yes.
I mean, there's a lot of, you got Marriott's and you've got, other things in the Hyatts and all kinds
Yes.
of Hiltons. There's tons on there. But just know that if you're booking it here, this is the perception of that.
Right.
Versus you're booking it somewhere in the middle or all the way up at the top of, something that's more of the luxury
Right.
ones.
Yes.
So those are all things to take into consideration because it's perception around your
Correct.
event. Okay, I'm not saying go and take your whole budget and blow it by having a
Yeah,
venue space at the Ritz-Carlton. That's not the point.
No.
The point is know what your budget is and know within your budget what you can
Yes.
work with. Also know what your attendees want and expect. Okay,
that's right.
because
of the quality of the person.
that's
also.
right. And so you want people. You don't. What we were talking about a minute ago is like,
Definitely if they're paid for their ticket and it's a nice size ticket price.
the investment for it.
The investment's going to be worth it.
Right. And so you want to think about all of these things, not just the location and the venue and the this. All of these things culminate because you want people to say yes to your event, right? You don't want there to be, red flags coming up for them.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't like that city. Oh, I don't like that venue. Oh, I don't want to go there. That's a bad area. Or, ooh, there's no place to park or there's no place to eat. All of these kinds of things. So if you can check the boxes, yes, 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 these are good for all of
Yeah.
those things.
You're having a great start
Then
to
you're
your
moving
event.
forward. If some red flags start coming up for you, then look at alternate places.
Right. You already should be looking at alternate places at the same time.
Well, once you've chosen your city and you've chosen kind of the area in which you want to have that, then you need to reach out to 10 to 20 venues within
Right.
that area because a lot of them aren't going to get back to
They
you.
won't. Half.
Some of them will get back to you and say we don't have the space available, and then you're left with whoever did get back to you. Then starting
You'll
to
have
talk to
3.
them if they have the space
Yep.
available on those dates. Do they have the size that you need? And then you can kind of start that
And start the
negotiation process
negotiations
from
out of the whole,
there.
all 3 or 4.
Yeah, there's not going to be that many. Once you kind of,
Yep.
it's like a funnel. Once you get it down to the down here, there's a few. But you've got people who are like, well, there's no space available because I reached out. Well, how many did you reach out to? Oh, a
just
couple.
2.
Just okay. Well, you got to do like 10, 20, like 25,
Yep.
depending on the city. You might have to do more than that. Now, if you're going to a smaller city, you might not have as many options available, right?
Correct.
And that brings up another thing
You might have
is
to change where you have it.
you might have to change where you have it. You also, the further out you book it, the more options there are available to you.
In a big way. Repeat
Yes.
that again.
So you need to book your event out in advance because the
Yes.
further out in advance you book your venue, the more options you have available.
Yes, no
if
last
you're booking
minute
things
stuff.
out 6 to 12 months, 6, 12, 18 months in advance,
It's going to
awesome.
be a lot easier
If-
than a month.
If you're looking at something a month or 2 out, you're left with whatever's, because
Whatever's
most
left.
people have already booked their venue space
Yes, and they're going to be full.
long before that, right? So you
There's
don't
a
want
lot of events happening all at the same time.
and you don't want leftovers, right? You don't want whatever's left over. That's what you got to deal with because you didn't put enough thought into it to book it out further in advance,
And
okay?
you'll be up Schitt's Creek because it's a pain in the ass when you're at a venue that you're stuck in because there's nothing else around and everything's not going to work out.
Yeah.
It's
So,
just dominoes.
and I would prefer you put the event, either choose a different location or put the event off, then go into a space that you knew wasn't the
Right.
right space for you because that's the only
Yep.
thing that was available.
Because maybe those attendees might want to come back with you, but if they have a crappy event, they're not coming back.
It kinda
and then
starts-
that word's going to spread too.
And it starts a domino effect. Like if you're like, look, we're having this event on this date.
No matter
we
what.
have to have it at here.
Like
This
most
is-
speakers are.
Yes, this is the only spot that's available. We're taking it.
Yeah.
Okay, well.
But then your employees have to take care of, your staff has to take care of all the challenges and the big pain in the ass where you don't even want to go.
Right. So then you have to look at, well, you've got challenge with your AV. Your space is not big enough. You don't have, there's no place to park.
Right.
There's not ample restaurants around.
Right.
It's
You got a little riser and your head's hitting the ceiling.
right. It's too low of ceilings. So you
That
have
a lot of
all-
people still do and think they had a great event
Right.
that looks like shit.
All of these things pop up. If all these red flags are popping up and you're still pushing through, then get ready to have, shit hit the fan by the time you actually get to the event. Because
Yes.
it's going to, because all the red flags are popping up and you were just like, ignore, ignore, ignore,
Right.
ignore. Because you were so hell-bent on having an event on this date at this time, but you didn't book it out with enough
Yes.
time to be able to get what you needed to get.
Right. And as soon as that speaker walks through the door for that event, then hopefully the night before, not the morning of,
No, you should never.
they're not going to want to do it. They're going to want to figure to go somewhere else. They're going to know it's too late. Can we open it up? No, because it's too late. It's being used. It's not space available. You can't even open up anything.
Yep. So these
you're
are all
done.
things you as the speaker or you as the person who's putting on that. Maybe you're one and the same. Maybe you're working on a team. All of these different things, but it comes from having ample time before you're having your event so you could make the proper choices
Yes.
necessary to get the end result that you're looking for. We want an event experience that is what you want it to be. And when you start pushing things into what they're not fitting, but you're just
Doing it
shoving them
anyway.
anyways,
Right.
you're not
Smash.
you're not gonna have that experience.
Nope.
It's going to be the opposite of the experience
Yes.
that you want. It's not going to be impactful nor profitable because all of these things come
Yes.
into play to make your event
Yes.
an experience that is both impactful and profitable, right? So think about all these things.
Yes. You're not going to have any footage. You're not going to have any sales because your footage is going to look crappy because you're in a crappy room. You're not going to want to use it, so that's a waste of time. And no sales, came out of pocket. You might even paid more for the crappy spot because that's all that was left.
Yep. So think about this when you're booking your next venue, you're booking your next location, you're booking your next event.
Yep.
And start thinking about now. I mean, we're at the middle of the year right now. I don't know when you're watching this or listening to this, but we're at the middle of the year. So you should be starting to think about next
year.
year's events,
Right.
right? We're only you're in the middle of the
Yes.
year, you got 6 months, right? Everything for this year should be booked.
For first and
should
second quarter
should
next
be
year,
rolling.
you should be on.
You should be looking for Q1 and Q2 of next year and getting
Correct.
those taken out. It's just a constant moving thing. And
Right.
so you constantly want to be you're working on these events now, but you're
Yes.
booking the events out later too. So
Right.
that way
Because you might have
have
to make a pivot, and then you have time to make a pivot. And
Yeah.
if there's a challenge,
So think about that. Do you have your event lineup for next year put together? If not, take some time to think about that. Do
Yes.
you, and then back it up a little more than that. Do you even have this year's events all taken care of?
right. Do you even
And-
have people available to book those for you?
Yeah. So these are all things to think about because this comes into play, and we see this time and time and time and time. It's like, why did you choose this venue? Well, this is all that was available. Okay. How come
Because
this
you had
isn't
the
this?
inexperienced person doing all the calls and all the
And they don't know.
information, and they don't know what to do. And they
They were
don't have a
just told-
checklist. They just was told find a venue.
One last thing before we wrap this up is when you are reaching out to these venues and you say, however many people you're going to have at your event, you need to also take into consideration what the layout of your event is going to be, okay? And what I mean by that is, are you doing theater? Are you doing classroom? Are you
Right.
doing rounds? Because theater, you can fit a lot more people in with just
Yep.
chairs.
And that's it.
Classroom, if you're
Yep,
doing
with a couple
chairs
aisles.
and tables, that's more. Rounds, they're bigger too.
Yep, only 6 or 8 at
Are
a
you
table.
going to have a stage, a riser, right? What's the size of that going to be? Are you going to have multiple screens?
You're gonna have back it away from the wall because you're gonna have rear projection.
Are you going to have tables in the back for your sales and admin teams? That takes up space there as well. Are you going to have aisles in the middle, on the
You have to
sides,
have
and through?
aisles.
So those all take up space. So you have to take that into consideration because the
Yes,
venue,
have a diagram.
the venue will tell you, oh yeah, we have the space, but they don't because you need your stage, you need your screens, you
And
need
you forgot
your
about the
tables, you
tables
need
in the back. You
all of
forgot
these
about
things.
certain things that takes up space. From the riser in the front to the tables in the back, and whatever's in the middle. So you mess that up, you mess up all the numbers that you need.
And your AV team needs space too. They need
Right.
space to be able to work. They need space for their equipment to go. They need space for everything to be set up and put around.
And hidden.
So all of this stuff comes into consideration. So it's not just, hey, we need a venue available on these dates for this amount of people. Plus, right?
Yes.
It's the plus that no one takes into consideration when they're giving their number out of how many people they're going to have.
Right.
Plus of this, plus of that, and that all takes up more and more space.
Yes.
And so what happens is you get to a venue, and it's like, well, we had it for a right amount of people, but you didn't include all the other things around it, and so you're stuck.
Should they pad their
Yeah.
amount also by at least a third, right?
And you need
add on top of that.
And before you sign a contract, you need a diagram from the venue as
Yes.
to what, so you know you're both on the same page. They
Yes.
know there's going to be a stage, and there's going to be
Right.
screens, and there's going to be, this is the layout of the seating,
Right.
and this is how it's going to look in the back of the room, and how the aisles are, so that
Yep.
everyone's on the same page as to, now, could you change some things around as it gets closer? Yes.
Of course.
But you want a rough
That's why
draft.
you have your draft.
You want
Yes.
a rough draft of an outline of what it's going to look like.
Yes.
The layout. Okay, guys? So make sure you take this information, start looking at the venue spaces you
Use
already
it.
have. Start looking at the cities that you're looking at, some dates.
Right away.
Get stuff booked. Start working out in advance. If
Yes.
you're constantly working, if you're looking at next year and you're always working 6 months to 9 months to a year ahead.
always be ahead.
Then every 3 months that comes up, you're working on that next 3 months, right? You're working
Yep.
on that. It's a constant thing. And then you're taking care of these events that are here, but you're constantly booking out more.
Yes.
And so you want to feed that pipeline, just like you would with leads or anything else, with your events. So
Yes.
keep feeding it, and it becomes a well-oiled machine. And then
Yep.
you have options available to you, and you're not just stuck with the leftovers.
Correct. So make sure you like us. Please share.
Yep, subscribe and give us a 5-star review and comment. We
Yes.
love hearing from you guys, and we look forward to talking to you again soon. And remember, it only takes an instant to make an impact. We'll talk to you soon, guys. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.